to make sure I didn't have anything in my teeth. I just got through eating lunch. So, anyways, I hope everybody had a good holiday. Uh, I don't celebrate Thanksgiving anymore, at least not in the traditional way. Um, I hope that your holiday is safe and protected and positive and productive. And, um, it's been a few days since I've done any kind of video. I've really just kind of been spending time with myself. That being said, before I get too far into the video, if you have not tried these sodas, supports digestive health is at the top of the can. Olipop, IPOP, classic root beer, a new kind of soda. Prebiotics, botanicals, plant fibers, plant powered, microbiome approved, only 2 grams of sugar per can, 9 grams of fiber. Let's see, ingredients: carbonated water, chicory root. I'm pretty sure that's where the root beer flavor comes from. Artichoke, marshmallow root. Anyways, all kinds of apple juice concentrate, lemon juice, burdock root, stevia leaf, Himalayan pink salt, sweet birch extract. Anyways, I've had these for a while and I honestly forgot that I had them. And when I was cleaning out or working, not really cleaning it out, but working out in the truck yesterday, I found them and they're actually really good. Considering the fact that it has a very unique flavor, and I'm not sure that I'm tasting the flavor exactly how it should be because I put oregano oil in my soup for lunch. I feel like it might be numbing my taste buds a little bit. Um, but it's a very gentle root beer flavor. It's not a very potent beer flavor. But nonetheless, if you have not tried them, give them a shot. I don't get paid for any of the products that I tell you guys about. I know I don't do it nearly as often as I used to, but life has unfortunately taken its toll on me the last couple months. I don't want to say I haven't been myself, but I really kind of haven't. I've really kind of become numb in a way, which is not a good thing. That being said, this isn't going to be my typical video. And the reason for that is, for me, and I'm just being honest as I always am, the daily devotionals have gotten repetitive for me. And to me, our relationship with the spirit world is not supposed to feel like that. I'm not saying that my beliefs have changed, because they haven't. I know that there is a creator. I know that Jesus is real. But my education, my knowledge has been expanding. I try to learn new things every day. And in my opinion, hold on, let me prop this door open. The dogs are out too, so if I get distracted, please just excuse the distractions. And excuse my look. I literally haven't done anything to myself today. I've just been kind of lazy and comfy and, a holiday day, I guess. But in my opinion, if we're doing it right, if the knowledge that we're seeking, we're actually applying and investigating and analyzing, it's gonna it's gonna affect our life. It's gonna affect our way of thinking. And it should. Whether that's in a good way or a bad way, it depends on, of course, what you're feeling with, but also how you're processing that information. And so I don't I don't know what scripture it is, but it tells us, not to do the repetitive prayers like the Pharisees, and you know, it shouldn't it shouldn't feel negative. It shouldn't feel numb. It sh- and even though the daily devotions, and I'm not saying that I have stopped doing them, uh, just as far as doing them on the channel and doing them on video, um, I feel like it's just gotten very repetitive, very kind of monotonous. And I, even though I want that to be an important part of my life and of what I contribute to the world, I don't want that to be all that I contribute, because there's a deeper meaning to everything. And the daily devotions and the daily scripture, for me, I draw inspiration from them, but I draw information from them as well. And that relationship for me needs to be personal, not repetitive, not an obligation, not something that I do because it's expected of me from the world. I want it to be something that I do because it betters me as a person. It betters my soul. It betters my life. But there's so many other things to life that when we get wrapped up in that kind of biblical mindset, there's so many other things that we overlook, that we purposely ignore. Uh, and something, I mean, I've learned so much over the last 5 years. It's insane. There's no way that I, I don't even know how. It's been hard for me to even process it all, let alone share it with others. And I know one day I will get to the point to where it will come more naturally to me to be able to share that knowledge with others. Um, I know, in so many ways, my life has come to a standstill because there's so much that I need to learn, and I don't want to focus all of my energy on one thing. I learned a very long time ago that if you put all your energy into one thing, all the other things in your life suffer because of it, because they're not getting your time and attention and your diligence and your awareness and so on and so forth. There's so much that I want to share, and I just don't know how. I don't know. I don't know how to form it. I hope that makes sense. I haven't gotten to that point to where it's like a straight line. It Everything is still so scattered and so open to interpretation, of course, but also open to interference. And even though I'm very, for the most part, secluded in my life, there's still a lot of outside interference contributing to why I'm secluded and why I can't openly just live my life. Um, I don't really talk about my personal life a lot because of that interference. I don't want to give people more opportunity to interfere than the people that already are interfering. My family, my son's father, his family, secret haters that pretended to be my friends all along, they're stabbing me in the back, hoping that I'll fail. Talking, you know, talking on my name, talking bad on my name, talking about me behind my back, making fun of me behind my back. Um, and then, of course, the biggest thing is pretending like none of those things are even happening, which thankfully I've made it to a point in my journey where I know I'm not crazy. You can't tell me that the things that I heard and the things that I saw and the things that people did to me didn't happen. And, I really kind of wanted today to stem off of the last two videos that I've done. The one was a major trigger warning, and it triggered me. It triggered me bad when I did the video about the history of all the sexual assault that I've experienced. And even after I ended that video, I remembered several other instances where things had happened that I didn't talk about in the video. And then in the second video, I kind of talked about, you know, as I got older and I started going through my healing journey and started really trying to understand, why these things were happening to me, and for a long time, I really believed that it was my fault. I, and when there's no support, it's a struggle. When people judge you and critique you and manipulate you and mess with your mind to the point where you start questioning yourself, that's a very dangerous place to be. And what's popping into my head right now is the scene from the series Chosen. I know I spoke about it a few times in my video or in my past videos, but there's a scene in it where um Simon and his brother are approached by Matthew. And it's before Matthew actually became a disciple. And they're upset with him, and they're like, quit following us, quit, go back to your, go back to people and just leave us alone. And Matthew's asking them, did this, and what he's referring to is the story where when Simon becomes a disciple, when Jesus tells him to cast his net to the right side of the boat, and they get this huge catch of fish. And Matthew was a very logical thinker. And he was like, he even went to the, what was his position? It wasn't the Pharisees. Anyways, he went to the higher ups and told them what happened. And the guy was like, well, I wonder if we can make him do it again. He obviously works well under pressure. Da, 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 da. And Matthew's like, no, Simon wasn't the one that did it. It wasn't Simon. Well, they didn't believe him. And Matthew's telling this to Simon and his brother. And Simon almost wants to fight him. He's mad at him. And he just asks them, he says, have I been deceived? And Simon's brother looked at him and said, if you don't even believe yourself, it doesn't matter what we say. What does it matter what we say if you don't even believe yourself? If you don't believe what you saw, if you're questioning yourself, then there's nothing we can say that's going to make you believe that this really happened or didn't happen. So that's what pops in, you know. So I very much had to pull myself out of that abyss, if you want to call it that, where I was constantly questioning myself. Constantly. What did I do to deserve this? Why did this happen? Why did this happen? What did I do? What did I say? Did this really even happen? And that takes me kind of to where I wanted to go about the spiritual journey that this life is, and I know people now are more receptive to it than they ever have been, of realizing the deceptions of this world. And when we go a step further and realize that it's a spiritual battle, we don't fight we don't fight against flesh and bone. We fight against spiritual attacks, mental attacks, emotional attacks. It's And a lot of times the physical, what they do and what they say to us in the physical, is actually intended to hurt us spiritually. Because when we're questioning ourselves, when we can't even believe what we know is true, when we're constantly questioning it, you get nowhere, because you're stuck in that box of always yourself. And for me, that was a very scary and dangerous place to be. I caused a lot of harm to myself because I wasn't listening to myself. I was listening to everybody else. That's To grow, to heal, to expand our minds. That's the wrong way to do it. We won't ever get there if we're constantly questioning ourselves. Now, questioning the outside world, that's a different story. I encourage you to question everything. I just saw a video yesterday of a talking bird. This bird was on top of some girl's car, and it was like it was glitching. And she said it in the video, but you could tell that the eyes of the bird were cameras. Eyes are the windows to the soul. What we see, what we observe, affects our soul. So it's so important to be able to know and be able to observe what this world really is and the whole purpose of this world. And for me, in my spiritual journey, being able to do that required me to dive deeper into the Word, to know the Word, to be able to interpret the Word. Because if you've watched me long enough, or if you're far enough along in your journey, you know that the Bible is written in parables. It's not literal. I'm not saying, when I say that, I'm not saying that those things didn't happen. But he uses those examples as parables to the reality of what's really happening behind the veil, what's really going on behind the scenes, and where we really should be focusing our attention. And yes, we all have different roles to play. We all have different purposes while we're here. But as a collective, as a whole, it's our responsibility to heal. Because we can't get on that path until we heal from what was done to us in this life and in past lives. A lot of times when we come to this life, we're bringing karma, or karmics follow us to keep beating us down and to keep us in the box so that we can't fulfill our purpose. I'm still a little jagged on what my exact purpose is. And because of that, I just have to keep learning and keep being patient and remain positive as much as possible. Because if we get consumed by the things that surround us in this world, it's almost impossible to stay positive. I know divine timing is at play in my life and at play in in the world in general. Everything's happening the way it should. And even though I don't understand it, the book tells us, lean not on your own understanding. There's a reason why he tells us that, because a lot of things aren't going to make sense. We're not going to understand why things are happening, how things are happening, how things are going to play out, why. And then now I'm remembering another scene where he's with, and he tells them that adults need children because they need to be reminded of their faith. Children have unstopping faith. They're very resilient. We all are very resilient as children. And it's not until we get older that we start struggling with that. It no longer comes natural to us because we've been so bombarded and beat down by this world. And even though he's not with me, 22 on the timer. And even though the relationship may not be what I want it to be, my son, just having the little bit of time that I had with him and the experience, even though cut short, of being a mother, restores my faith. And if I can't do anything else in my life other than encourage people to have faith, that's what I'll do. Because above all else, that's what we all need, is faith. Faith in ourselves, faith in a higher power, faith in divine timing, faith in our ancestors and our spirit guides. There was a time in my life when I didn't believe in any of that. I didn't know what any of it was. I was raised that that wasn't real. And now that I've reached a point in my life where I have a world of knowledge at my fingertips and I've experienced so many things that are undeniable, you can't tell me. I don't care what anybody says. Nobody will ever turn me back to the way that I used to believe, the way that I used to think. That being said, I'm going to take a little pause because I've got to go get my Ancestry DNA kit and put it in the mailbox so that I can mail it today. So I'm going to take a brief break and go do that, and I'll come back.